What's up, guys? I'm BTC. Believe it or not, Hero 28 is just around the corner, and also the free-for-all competitive mode seems to have some issues. By now, a lot of you guys have probably tried out the brand new free-for-all competitive game mode. And I'm willing to bet that a lot of you are, shall we say, disappointed with the rank you ended up getting after completing your 10 placement matches. But don't feel too bad. It appears that Blizzard is purposely de-ranking pretty much everyone. So even the Master, Grandmaster, and even top 500 players are getting placed at Platinum rank when they do the free-for-all competitive game mode. Some players have been getting into Diamond, and even a very few ended up placing into Master, but it seems to be kind of random. Like, there doesn't seem to be any set thing, because again, top 500 players that are playing DPS are still getting placed at High Platinum, Low Diamond, and it just doesn't make any sense. Unless this is accidental, the only reason I can really come up with is the same thing that Blizzard has done in the past. So in the competitive seasons, what they used to do is after you did your placement matches, they would deliberately lower your rank by several hundred points. And it was because they wanted you to be able to experience climbing back up the ladder. And people got really upset about this, so they ended up getting rid of that. But it seems like that's kind of what they're doing with the free-for-all as well. They're deliberately putting most people at a lower or middle rank so that they can then climb the ladder. And as for the new map, Petra, there are a couple of issues with it. The first one is that the map is just too big. You can spend a good amount of time running around and just not finding anybody. I've actually gotten the warning pop-up that says unless you start getting active, you're not going to get experience for this match. And I'm actively moving around trying to find enemies, and I just can't, because for whatever reason, they're spawning on the other side of the map, or whatever's going on, I just couldn't find enemies, so I was actually getting the warning, which is kind of ridiculous. And on top of that, the spawns are not very good either. It seems like it wants to put you in the same spawn over and over and over, regardless of where the fights are, where you ended up dying, or any of that sort of stuff. And while I definitely like the map, it has some serious problems that are just frustrating to deal with. Unfortunately, I don't think Blizzard is going to spend any of the time and resources required to end up actually changing the size of the map to fix this. The other thing that they could do is make it so that there's more players, maybe bump it up to 10 or 12 per Petra map and keep the Chateau map at 8, but again, I don't know if they're going to bother wasting time with all that. Next up is Hero 28. I've had a bunch of people requesting that I talk about this stuff, and I'm not going to go too much into it just today, but believe it or not, Hero 28 is actually coming up really fast. And I know it feels like we just got Brigitte, but I think that's because there was such a huge delay in getting the character in competitive. But the character's actually been out for several months already. And Blizzard is in the habit of releasing 3 new characters every single year. So we get one in early March, one in July, and then one in November. Now, the really good news is that Blizzard is changing their policy on when they will add new stuff to competitive play. Over on the forums, Scott Mercer, who is one of the developers for Overwatch, said, "With today's," this was May 22nd, patch, "we made Rialto available in competitive play instead of waiting until the next competitive season on July 1st. In the future, our plan is to make new heroes and maps available in competitive play 2 weeks after their initial release." And this is a big change from what they've been doing. Brigitte was put on a 2-month delay before she was added to the competitive, and the same thing with the Blizzard World map. They waited a ridiculous amount of time before they added it to competitive. And really, waiting that long just isn't necessary. The fact of the matter is, some people are going to practice these new characters and maps, but most will not. And even in the higher ranks, Master and GM, after Brigitte was added to the competitive ladder, there were people in those ranks who didn't understand how her ultimate worked. And it just goes to show that it's not rank dependent. There are people at the upper brackets that just don't bother to learn the new stuff either. And it's even worse when it's the new maps that they don't bother to learn, because then they have no idea where to go or where to defend. Couple of examples. This person spent 5 hours of Brigitte in competitive, and I checked all the other game modes. As it turns out, it was only 1 minute of quick play. So that's how much practicing this person did. Literally 1 minute of quick play practice. And then this person has 8 hours in competitive and only 25 minutes in the other game modes. So people are just not practicing, and these guys are not the exceptions. This is the norm. The overwhelming majority of people that are using new characters never even bother to try them in the other game modes. They simply just pick the character as soon as it's in competitive. Also, a pretty good reason why these two people that I used for example turned out to be absolute garbage. Thankfully, they were on the other team. So again, there's no reason to wait the 2 months, and I'm really glad that they changed it. Getting back to Hero 28, I have had a lot of requests for a full in-depth prediction video, and if you're wondering why people would want that, if you're new to the channel, it's because I was 100% accurate with my Moira predictions, her abilities, how the lifesteal and the healing was going to work, and then for Brigitte, I was like 90% accurate, which is why people keep accusing me of working for Blizzard or knowing inside stuff. I don't, I just make really good predictions. So I will be making that. My first guess is that it's likely going to be a tank, because right now we have 14 DPS. It's going to be 15 once they move Symmetra away from the support category and they put her into defense, because they're going to crank up the amount of damage she can do. And really, there's 3 classes. I understand there's 4 different roles, but there's basically 3 classes. You have the DPS, you have tanking, and you have healing. And right now, we have, with the combination of offense and defense, there's 14 going to be 15. And then for the tanks, we only have 6. And then for the healers, we're only going to have 6 as well once the change goes through. But when you look at the tank category, you really only have 3 tanks, and then you have 3 off tanks, or maybe bruisers, whatever you want to refer to them as. So the amount of damage mitigation characters we have is really, really, really low. And one of the biggest problems that in this kind of game, or really any game that has classes, is the tanking and the healing is always kind of falling behind, and everybody wants to do damage. So Blizzard needs to come up with more interesting ways for tanking stuff to happen, so that way we don't have these kind of shortages when we're in these matches and, you know, everybody wants to be DPS kind of deal. Especially right now, because whether it's true or not, the perception is that playing a tank is just a terrible, unfun experience. And I think it's very likely that Blizzard is going to try to address that. But of course, the absolute best character that they could possibly add for Hero 28 is Jetpack Cat. I actually have some really awesome Jetpack Cat t-shirts. If you want to check those out, they're in the store right now. Anyways, guys, what character would you like to see for Hero 28? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out my Discord server. Follow me on Twitch and Twitter. The links for that stuff are down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault. Also, special thanks to all my Patreon supporters for helping to make this all possible. If you'd like to see what kind of cool rewards you can get for supporting the channel, check the links on screen and down below.